Greetings, Goddess Body Mind Spirit community. This is your Goddess Guru, Tyra Omilade, here to share a word of inspiration with you on your path to self-realization and self-mastery. Today is May 1st, May Day, May Day, May Day, 2019, and I hope that this day, this time, finds you well and in great spirits. This video is going out to Patreon members first. That's my membership site, my inner circle. And so I share everything. For the most part, I share everything there first. So thank you to the Patreon members. You too can become a part of Patreon. I have different membership levels, just sort of based on your finances as well as how much you want to engage with me or not. So you can go to patreon.com/goddess body mind spirit and learn more about what I have there. So thank you to the Patreons. Also, I want to thank all of the new subscribers. So welcome to my YouTube channel. My name again is Tyra Omilade, and I'm happy to have you here. Thank you. And to all of you tried and true subscribers and friends and family out there, thank you so much. Glad to have you here. So what I want to do is talk about Saturn retrograde. Saturn went retrograde on, I think it was Sunday. Yeah, Sunday, April 28th. And the thing about retrograde planets is they give us a chance to go back and reconsider some things, to stop our forward movement, to make sure we're headed in the right direction. Retrogrades are very, very good and important. Not all retrogrades affect us deeply the whole time the planet is retrograde, and Saturn is one of those planets. It's going to be less of an physical manifestation and more of a mental, internal change that happens with Saturn going retrograde. Venus and Mercury and Mars going retrograde. You might feel that. Let's see here. Right now, Jupiter is retrograde, and so is Pluto. So we have 3 planets retrograde. And these planets move pretty slowly. So, for instance, Jupiter takes a year to get through a sign, and Saturn takes about 2 years to get through a sign. So when they go retrograde, they're retrograde for several months at a time. So it's really just, it's more of an internal thing. And I was listening to some of the astrologers, and I thought, you know what? I really want to talk about Saturn retrograde. The thing to remember about these slower moving planets when they go retrograde is a couple of days before and after, you really will feel the effects of the retrograde. And then it's either it's moving retrograde or it's moving direct. So once it's time for, say, Jupiter to move direct, a couple of days and the day of and a couple of days after it moves direct, there's an intensification of energy. And so really, actually, when I think about it today, we're still a little bit in that energy intensification, maybe not as much today on May 1st, but maybe you've noticed since around the 26th, 27th, you're feeling sort of like sober. You're feeling a little bit serious. You might be thinking about all the responsibility that you have. And of course, we know that where the planet goes retrograde in your chart will, to a certain degree, dictate where you're feeling it, how you're feeling it, okay? But we can talk about it in general so that you can have some idea of how to maximize it. And I actually wanted to relate it to the energy of Sekert. I knew the Metu Neter oracle and teachings before I knew astrology. And so oftentimes I'm able to understand astrology because of the Metu Neter. And so I wanted to sort of give an Afro perspective of Metu Neter. Hey, Spirit Driven. Oh, wow. Okay, yes. So this is live. I thought it was unlisted. Whatever. It's okay. If you watch the replay, it looks like it's live. So, um, yes. So, okay. Let me look at your comment again. Moon in Capricorn, and she's chopping heads off. So, yeah. I mean, the energy gets very intensified. And so, yes, I wanted to talk about Sekert because the other day I created a course in the inner circle for about the tree of life. And I thought, really, we need to understand the energy of Sekert, because what I teach is that, well, it's what everybody teaches. It's not even unique to me. The entire astrology wheel, all of the signs are in you, all of the planets are in you, all of the Orisha are in you, all of the Neter are in you. And so, we always are working with our internal Sekert, Sekert. And all of these teachings are based on what I've learned from the Metu Neter, which is by Ra'un Nefer Amen. So what I liked about what Marina of MarsStars.net said is this Saturn retrograde is a time for us to look at our internal rules. So the question is, what are your internal rules? What are your life rules? If you don't have any rules for yourself, then this is a good time for you to look at, where can I put some rules in place? Where do I need to have more rules for my life? And the other thing about rules is, well, I liked what she said, that sometimes people don't like rules. Now, if you're a Capricorn or a Virgo, you might like rules because, Saturn and Sekert is all about, exactly, I was going to bring up boundaries next. You're on it, spirit driven. Rules really and truly help us to make sure, well, what I was saying is people who like rules know that rules will be enforced. If there's no rules, then anybody can do anything, and there's no ramifications. No one has to be held accountable because there's no rules. Rules really and truly help us to keep everybody on the same sheet of music. When the rules are broken, then it's time for us to have a discussion about how we are going to start following the rules. And so I really liked Marina talking about, what are your internal rules, and do you have any? Maybe this is a time for you to put some rules in place and to follow your rules. Because as one who has a free-flowing energy, I can honestly say I do better with rules. I do better with structure. I do better with boundaries, which is what Sekert is all about, as well as Saturn, because it's how I actually get things done. So it's so important for us to make sure we're following our own internal rules and to look for how are we violating our rules. That's a way that we can hold ourselves back if we are not following our own internal rules. If you have a rule with yourself regarding eating, saying, for instance, I have a rule, I don't eat after 3:30. Why am I eating after 3:30? We're having violations. And what does that lead me? Because more than likely, I put the 3:30 rule in place for a reason, So the rules actually help us to advance. And that's what Saturn and Capricorn is all about. This energy is about making advancements in our lives. And so we need the rules. We need the structures. And as Spirit Driven said, we need the boundaries in order to keep us moving in the right direction. Because if we don't have the rules, we don't have the boundaries, we don't have the structure, we're just doing anything, I am going to do an intensive study of the SMART goals, because I need more structure for how to move forward. So using SMART goals is going to be a new structure that I put into my life, which I've used them, but I want to use them on a higher level. I want to be like more in compliance with how you create these SMART goals. So that's important. And then the boundaries, I think, is so important, which I've lumped it together with the rules, because without boundaries, it's just like, this is how people end up doing way too much for other folks. You're just doing way too much, or folks are really just doing way too much for you that you don't need them to do. So, yeah, Sekert speaks to having boundaries. And what I like to tell people, and this is from my own experience, is that boundaries are in place for me. My boundaries are in place for me, right? I'm the enforcer of my own boundaries. And so if I give somebody a boundary, then it's not on them to uphold the boundary. It's on me to uphold the boundary, okay? You have to be your own boss. That's the thing that Capricorn teaches. You are the boss, no one else. So if a boundary is put in place, enforce the freaking boundary. And it's there for mainly you. So if you see you are letting people cross the boundary, you're not honoring your boundaries, then this Saturn retrograde is a great time for you to really look at, yeah, I need to be better about my boundaries. Y'all, we have to have strength. We have to have strength. That's something I like. Even though Capricorn energy is introverted energy, it's the energy of strength, all right? It's feminine strength, but it's strength nonetheless. So you have to have strength. Be strong. Uphold your boundaries. Enforce the boundaries. Live according to your boundaries. This is what we're being called to do. And we are given the opportunity to do so over the next maybe 4 months or so. So this is Sekert and Saturn. The other thing about Sekert, well, let me go back to boundaries. When I was talking about being about being strong, Sekert also speaks to tapping into our own inner power. And this is one of the reasons I'm describing it from the perspective of Sekert. Sekert represents the power centers in our body. And one of the ways that we awaken these power centers is through chanting. So this is something that I encourage everyone to do. I started thinking this morning, oh my gosh, I've gotten away from chanting. I need to get back into my chanting practice, because it opens up different power centers within us. I see Sekert as an energy that's about standing in your power and operating from your power. And something that I think we need to be thinking about in the Saturn retrograde is where do we, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, procrastinate. That's why I wrote notes. Where do we procrastinate? Procrastination is a sign of a lack of power, okay? And so we need to look at, where are we procrastinating and why are we procrastinating? You know, this energy is all about facing your fears. It's Capricorn energy, Saturn in Capricorn. It's about facing your fears. And a lot of times, if you are procrastinating, you may be fearful of something. You may feel like you can't do it. You know, you have to tell yourself, eat that frog. There's a certain mindset of success that people, and this is what I've heard, people who are successful, they do the things they least want to do first, because if they don't, they'll never get the thing they don't want to get done. So that's a hack that we can use. The things I least want to do, I'm just going to go on ahead and do them and get them out the way. How much more freeing and liberating does it feel when we do that? So it's very important for us to really look at how powerful, or where do we have a lack of power. And it's really, we have to remember, it's just a perception. It's not real. There's no real lack of power. It's a state of mind. And this is something that we want to be working on, because Saturn actually, Sekert really is about the mind. It's about the ability to do deep, protracted thinking. So in addition to chanting, I would recommend pondering as a part of your spiritual practice. This is what Sekert teaches. And when you ponder, you're deeply thinking. You just ponder, you ponder, you ponder. And the longer you ponder, it's almost like, well, for me, when I ponder, the solution comes. I know it and I own it. You know, it's like the wisdom comes and I can, or I'm pondering a thing, I'm looking for the answer, and the wisdom comes. The problem is we are so busy and we don't get ourselves quiet enough to even allow ourselves to ponder. So that's something else that we really want to do. But if you can ponder, like go take a walk and ponder, or go sit by some natural something that you like. Maybe you go sit on a big rock somewhere. Maybe you go sit next to the water. I didn't even mean to say rock, but that's a Capricorn thing. Stones, rocks, different things like that. But or someplace really old where there's like a lot of old trees and things like that. Go and sit, and whatever it is, let's say you're looking for your life's purpose. You just sit and you ponder and you ponder and you ponder. You know, and the answer will come to you. So this is something else that I'll put out there. That's another hack. Ponder. Um, and another quality that we are called to experience is patience. So I encourage you to be patient. This is what Saturn calls for us to do. This is what Sekert calls for us to do. If you're one of those people that feels like everything is slow and coming, just know that you're a part of my group. I feel like everything is slow and coming, but patience will win you. Where some people don't have the ability to stick and stay, and it's just their makeup. If you can develop the ability to be patient, to stick and stay, stick with the plan. That's the other thing about Sekert. Whatever the plan is, you need to stick with the plan. All right? And you want to intuit the plan. Patiently stick and stay with the plan. Day in and day out. It looks boring as all crap, all get out. Sekert is known as the killjoy. Sekert ain't having fun. Sekert's joy is in the hardcore work. Sekert's joy is in the spiritual practice, you know, the day in and day out spiritual practice. That is Sekert's joy. So you've got to be patient. You've got to learn to stick and to stay day in and day out, doing the long, drawn out, boring things. And you will find that it will win you quite a bit. And I don't know what lies ahead with all of this Capricorn energy going into next year. I just know that now is the time for us to develop new qualities and new ways of being. I also see Sekert as Oya, and it's about transformation. Though Sekert may be just the death part of the thing, it may not be quick like Oya is, but they both speak to death. And so I don't know where we're headed. I just know that change, we are in the midst of change. Change is not on the horizon. We are in the midst of the change. And so as we make the changes, we can't keep the old. We've got to become the new. We're being called to do new things. This is another thing that Sekert is about. It's about cycles. And it's like, where are you in the cycle? Well, right now, as a collective, we're being restructured. We are being changed. And on the other side of this thing, we will be different. Now, what level of different do you want? Do you want a quality level of different, or do you just want to make it past the finish line? Baby, we all gonna get there, but how you get there is the question. And do you want to be standing in your power, or do you want to be looking for your power once the change has taken place fully? Where do you want to be in this thing? So just be patient. And that's something I feel is going to be needed when we get to that new thing. You know, like there's a time for us getting hyped, and then there's a time for us just saying, you know what, I'm just going to sit and wait. A lot of times that's what I say, especially when it comes to figuring out what's going on with someone. Oh, I don't even have to ask. It might come up. I might sense something is up. I'll think if it's meant for me to know, I'll know. Or if it's just somebody who maybe we're new in a friendship or relationship, I'll just be patient. They will always show me who they are. Patience will win you. All right. Everyone will tell you to quit on your dreams and your goals. Your ego will even tell you to quit. You can just say, you know what? I'm cultivating patience. And so, what do we do when we're patient? We just stay calm, we stay cool, we stay collected because we're walking in our power. We might have to do a little bit of chant to help us to like discharge some of the energy that maybe doesn't feel good, but we're going to stick and stay. It's like, I got you. I'm going to be here for you. I'm there for you. Patience, patience, patience. I cannot overstate it. So let's see. Destiny with karma. So that's something else. You know, yesterday I can say, now another thing about this Sekert energy that is like Capricorn, it's very sober energy. Like I said, killjoy energy. And one of the ways it manifests is through, it's just negativity, just stinking, thinking, and everything's so wrong, this negative criticism, And so yesterday I was sort of feeling down, and I hadn't felt down in a while. So I was like, God, this feels horrible. And I just started thinking about, oh my God, there were some things that I really felt like I needed to have in place by now. They're not in place by now. And I'm seeing Saturn and Sekert and Capricorn sent up a message like, we told you to get this taken care of, and you haven't gotten it taken care of. It's not so bad right now, but keep it up. And guess what? I mean, it's like, oh my gosh. Reality check. Talk about Saturn being a reality check planet. Woo! Reality check planet. Destiny with karma. So that's something that may have come up in the last few days that you want to look at. Like, oh my God, my karma's here. I will say it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. You could be experiencing Saturn retrograde differently from me because you did everything you were supposed to do. And now you're looking at it like, I did all that hard work. I am good. Look at me. Look at these rewards that I'm reaping. That's what I'm going for when Saturn goes direct. Because Saturn going retrograde has not been fun for me. Pluto going retrograde, I was like, thank you, Pluto. Jupiter going retrograde, I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I was like, is 3 going to be a charm? Oh, no. Saturn was like, nah. Mm-mm. So the other thing that has really been on my mind is, and this is something that we need to think about, it can feel like it is so much responsibility, so much work. And this is why I wanted to explain it as Sekert, which Saturn is in us, Capricorn is in us. But Sekert, when we're thinking about the tree of life, this is our blueprint, and this is us. This is how we're made up. And so we have the ability to tap into the power within to deal with all of life's responsibilities. And so that's something I just want to encourage you to do. Really tap into Sekert within. Allow this energy to rise up in your consciousness so that you feel good with working hard, because that's what these energies are about. It's about working hard, and it's about having a lot of responsibility. But if you talk to most people who have a lot of Capricorn energy, they don't even feel right if they don't have good responsibility. If they're not working hard, they feel like they're a loser, And so this Saturn retrograde is really giving us an opportunity to see how can we be more Capricorn-like and be more responsible and do the work. The one thing I will say too, Capricorns who may actually not struggle with this energy too much, but the one thing I have to say about Capricorns is that, you have to guard against like feeling like I'm the only one that's working hard and nobody's helping me and all that kind of good stuff. If you have Capricorn energy, ascendant, moon, or sun, and you sort of like get to that place where you feel like you're the only one doing work, well, you might need to ask for some help. Okay, you might need to ask for some help, or get your good Capricorn perspective flowing. Okay, because at the end of the day, Shango Haru teaches us that we have made choices. We've made choices to be in whatever situation that we're in. And so, you know, as leaders, if we need to delegate, if we need help, we should ask for it. If people aren't pulling their weight, this is Saturn and Sekert. Like, you've got to be held accountable. Whoever that person is not doing that work. And so that's something that, you know, people who are struggling with the Capricorn energy, feeling like, oh, I got everything to do, nobody's helping me, nobody's pulling their weight, then it's incumbent on you to tell other folks you need to pull your weight, okay? Because the negative nanny piece to this energy, it just does not profit. The way I got myself out of my funk last night was I just came home and started taking care of some stuff that I knew I needed to take care of, but was what? Procrastinating on. So let's see if there's anything else I wanted to tell you. I can't remember if I said it this way, but going back to the rules piece is we need to have personal governance. And so you need to set up your own internal government. I don't know how you want to set it up, but you know, you might need to have a legislative branch, a judicial branch, and a legislative branch. And put those things into action so that you can move forward in your life. This is what this is all about. This is Tyrone Milade. Does anyone have any questions? I don't see a lot of people here. This is Tyrone Milade. Thanking you all so much for joining me. I appreciate all of the likes. I appreciate all of the shares and all of the comments. And if you need divination, my web address is goddessbodymindspirit.com, and you can just go to the spiritual readings page. And again, I would love to have you all join me in Patreon. Y'all have a wonderful Saturn retrograde. Thank you, Spirit Driven. You're awesome. And I will see you in the next video about the new moon in Taurus.